Ravenous. I wanted to do a video on being a person that lives with invisible disabilities and how it affects me as a person who has invisible disabilities, aka disabilities that you can't see on the surface. Now, there are days where I can take on the world and I can talk to people, I can do my bills, I can do all the things that I need to do, and I'm doing really great. I can put on my clothes, have a shower, and do all those things. But then I have days where my disabilities affect me greatly, where I can't talk to people, where I struggle with my bills, where I run out of money, where my medication's run out and I haven't ordered it yet, or the fact that I melt down and I can't cope with the simplest of things. There are times where I can talk to people, I can be a very sociable butterfly, as it were, and I have other days where I don't have the mental energy to cope. Today is one of those days where I can't mentally cope with things and I'm really struggling with things. My partner helps with a lot of things that I need to do in my day-to-day life. But I wanted to talk about how that affects me. How some days I slog in things and I just can't put clothes on because they itch me, they irritate me, I can't deal with it, I can't cope with it. And there's other days where I'll dress up and it'll be really good and I'll enjoy the way I'm looking. I'm a disabled person that would love to have a job, and I have had many jobs. I've had three. I've had three jobs, in fact, and in every single job that I've had, I didn't have the support that I needed, and within about 5 months with two of them, and a year and a half with one of them, I couldn't be there anymore because I didn't have the support to cope with my role and kept running on empty. No spoons. The other thing is that a lot of us who have invisible disabilities don't see us as disabled because we're not in a wheelchair, or we're not deaf, or we can drive a car, and many things like that. And yes, it would be terrible if I was in a wheelchair or I couldn't do these things, and yes, those are disabilities too. And I've had so many people tell me, it could be worse for you. You could be in a wheelchair, you could be blind, you could be these things. And I can understand where they're coming from, but that also doesn't help us, the people who have invisible disabilities, because we look fine on the surface. We get judged. We get judged harshly that we should be capable of A, B, C, and D. And it also makes it so much harder for us to prove to people like what I'm on, which is PIP, which is personal independence payments for people who are disabled, physically and mentally, to prove. I have to prove that I am the way that I am. Even though I struggle every day, even though I struggle with things, I have to prove to them. And I feel that my entire life, I've kept trying to prove to everyone that I can do everything everybody else can, when I can't. And why should I prove that I can do everything everyone else can when I live in a world that doesn't support us, that can't do those things, that shuns us, that pushes us out, that makes us struggle, that doesn't help us? I even went to my psychiatrist recently because I'm having another mental episode. These things happen with me, with my disabilities, and basically she put it to me that they work with a There's an issue, we find the issue, we solve the problem, it's done. We don't support people that have ongoing issues. And unless I can fork out gazillion amounts of money for 5 years worth of therapy, they can't help me. Which makes me feel alone, isolated, and helpless. I wish that I wasn't disabled. I wish that I could get any job. I wish that I could earn my money. I wish that I didn't have problems. But the problem is I do. And I'm tired of all of us who are disabled like me that get judged all the time and told that we're okay and told that we're fine and told for us to just deal with it and put up with it and get on with it, and we can't. Why should we push ourselves into a box that we are never going to fit in? Why should we force ourselves to struggle in a world that isn't even built to support us? The society we live in doesn't support us. And I know for everyone who's like me how hard it is to live with a disability that you can't see. Now, I have complex PTSD, ADHD, autism, anxiety, depression. I struggle with these things daily. And most people say, they have a cup. The cup's full, the cup's not. Well, I have a cup, but my cup always has a hole in the bottom. So as much as I will fill that cup up, it will always slowly drain out. And no matter how much I help myself, no matter how much I do or don't do, it will keep draining. And there will be days where I can't talk, I can't speak, all I can do is sit there and exist. And it is so frustrating because when you're around other people, you kind of get that impression in your head that you have to do everyone else's. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing. And when you do that and you try and be like everyone else, when you're disabled like me, what happens? You have a mental lapse. You break down. You can't cope. And it just... the thing happens all over again. And I suppose I just wanted to say how hard it is for us, for me, as a person with invisible disabilities, that just because you cannot see it, just because I may not display it on my face, doesn't mean I don't struggle. I do. I struggle with a lot of things. I forget appointments. I forget my meds. I am a bundling ball of mess sometimes. I suppose I've got to the point now that if I forget things, I just accept it. Because I have lived with a lifetime of shame and guilt and fear and isolation because other people who I grew up with made me feel small because I was not like them. I was not neurotypical. I was neurospicy. And I always will be. I will always struggle. I will always have issues. And I will always have problems. And I just want to say to anyone who's watching this, if you are autistic, ADHD, any of these things, and you struggle like I do, I hear you and I see you. With all these issues, I have one superpower, as I call it. It's more a blessing and a curse, really. I see people. And when I mean I see people is, I see people, I connect with people on a much deeper level. I can help people. I will talk to them. People will talk to me and tell me everything that's going on with them. I don't choose to. It just happens, and I'm a very good people person. But at the same time, here's the curse. I can't deal with people as well. And another thing may not be as seen upon as much, but I've even been moaned at by another autistic person for not being able to have a job, for not being able to do this, for not being able to do that. Being autistic is a spectrum. Being disabled is we all have different needs. And just because someone else is autistic can do A, B, C, and D doesn't mean I can just because I'm autistic. There are autistic people that can't even speak. They're mute. They can't talk. They can't even go outside. And we live in a world where we're constantly scrutinized for every little thing that we can or can't do. And I know everyone's with me on this when I've said, people have said, oh, but you don't look mentally ill, you don't look autistic, you don't look this, you don't look that. What are we supposed to look like? Tell me, what are we supposed to look like? We're not supposed to look like anything, because it is in here. It's in here. It's not here, it's in here. And I just want to say that I understand the struggle, and I understand the frustration and the isolation that being a person with invisible disabilities is. That is my video for today. Remember, I love you, you're amazing, you're wonderful. Never stop being you, my ravenness. I'll see you in the next one. Love you.